We'll shift to the Pepperell Police Department. Like other police departments like Groton, I think we did last meeting, the list of police officers for appointments. The special police officers for the town of Dunstable. I will not read through all the names, but I will take any motions if there are.
So I move that we accept the appointment of the Pepperell police officers as provided by the Pepperell Police Department in this listing dated May 18th, 2023.
Prepared by the chief of police.
Chief of Police.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Similar for the town of Tingsboro, we have a June 1 list from Police Chief Richard Howe. Again, I'm not going to read through the names, there are quite a few there. But let's see if there's any motions for this.
So I'll move that we appoint the Tingsboro police officers and as defined in the June 1, 2022 listing provided by Chief Richard Howe of Tingsboro Police.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So that takes care of those lists. We could shift to the determination of ranking of fire chief candidates now if we want to. We're on board with that.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Not sure where we start with that.
So we left off, right, that we interviewed these three guys, at least if my
We did. These three.
memory is good and my Alzheimer's hasn't kicked in.
We have interviewed all three of these.
Yep.
And this particular listing has Farrell, Roy, and Valentine in order, which I think is not specific to anything, right?
Specific to alphabetical.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think we dismissed Robert Valentine from the list. Did we not do that?
Not officially, he has not been dismissed, but I think we ranked him essentially third.
So town administrator did not call him and tell him that he was dismissed.
I do not believe so.
Okay,
No,
I don't know. I don't think we
communicated with him.
directed him to do that, so.
I wasn't sure whether or not he had, because when we left that meeting that time, we had that discussion.
Right.
And so the ranking still exists at this point in based on this, right?
Yeah,
He's still on the hunt.
these
Yes.
three are still open for consideration.
Okay.
Yep.
And I think the next step in the process was to have some discussion regarding compensation.
Yes,
And that's going to be an executive session.
it will be for, yeah,
I think I think we've got to get to that point.
before we
Yeah.
create a ranking scenario.
Yeah, I think we got to get, there's no salary qualification out there right now. And, you've got three individuals who all may see this differently. And I think we got to have some discussion about what the compensation package is going to look like and say, okay, guys, this is what we're looking to do. Here it is. And I don't think we've got to that point with this. I think there's some negotiation strategies around some of these things that.
But we need to be sure if we can actually enter into that unless before we've actually discussed, set a person up for that discussion. We can't just go into executive session to discuss it amongst ourselves. That's not one of the criteria.
Yeah.
So, but
You can
then,
do contract negotiations once.
but you can go into it to negotiate salary with two different individuals.
You have to do it with the person. We can't do it among ourselves. And we're gonna have to double check it because it's very, very specific. There are only 10 reasons why you can go into it. I think it may, is it 10, Jake? It may even be less. 10.
Something
maybe.
like that. It's
Very specific reasons to go into executive session. It's not just to go in to discuss something you're not comfortable talking about in public.
So we
You
have,
have to have, it has to be a contract negotiation.
so we have an executive session pursuant to chapter 30A, clause 2. Preparation for negotiation with non-union personnel fire chief.
Okay, so we have that on,
You've got that down there.
okay,
That's, I'm saying, I think you gotta get to that stuff because
okay, maybe I'm wrong. Was this vetted by,
Well, the concept was that you sort of determine on the candidate and then
Okay.
you would go in. So I think the idea was that you would do the ranking and then determine sort of the preferences in public session, and then you could go into executive session for the rest of the discussion.
Okay.
Because at that point, you're putting together what you intend to offer them
right,
for a
okay,
contract. So it is the beginning of the contract negotiation.
okay.
Yep.
So we're covered with that, fine, okay. Got it. Just trying to be careful because this stuff can come back and bite you.
So in that case, we could rank them as a board right now publicly.
Mhm.
And then based on that ranking, we would use executive session to determine amongst the three of us, the compensation package we want to offer said person. Is that something we want to do?
I think so.
Okay.
Time is of essence.
Yeah, I know, June 30th is coming quick, being the first day of summer, so. I know when I left, I'll go first, I left our discussion with the three gentlemen who came in, who all interviewed impressively. My ranking on that evening was Mr. Patrick Roy, Mr. William Farrell, and then Mr. Robert Valentine.
I concur with that.
and I'm out of order with that. I'm with Farrell first, Roy second, and Valentine third. And that's why I thought we discounted Valentine, but maybe I'm misreading that.
Well, he was sort of third on that for all of us, so it's maybe just by default. But it's
I mean, there's a world where they both say no, and then we're
right.
down to the committee's, third person they push to the next pool, if you will. And we don't want to be left without anything.
That's true.
There's a world where that happens sometimes, so.
Yeah.
That was my ranking. I thought, again, they were all impressive. I'd say the same to you guys. They were all impressive candidates. I guess if you wanted to ask me a specific reason why, it was I wanted someone who had some leadership experience, not that Farrell doesn't, but a different type of leadership experience, that the continuity plan would be strong. That was my personal opinion based on how they interviewed and their resumes. So, but Farrell was equally impressive. They all send thank you notes, things like that matter. It's a nice contact point. So, especially with him right in Nashville, it's a good connection. So. But that's where I think I lead to for executive session for us to discuss.
Yeah.
A compensation package for Patrick Roy in the event to see if we can come to an agreeable package, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I'll go along with that. Yeah, we'll get into this executive session discussion and we'll figure that out and we'll see where that leads us and that's fine.
So then I guess, would we have a motion that says we've organized our ranking? And then this will lead to us going to
Yeah,
create a package in executive session at the end of this evening for Mr. Patrick Roy and potential next steps.
We make that motion.
yes,
I make a motion to consider Patrick Roy as our first choice candidate for the fire chief. And that we would then, I guess that's it. Consider contract
but
negotiations.
Farrell is the second choice and Valentine. is
Yeah.
your third.
Mhm.
That's your motion, I think, right?
Yeah, so Patrick Roy is a first choice to consider contract negotiations with. And with William Farrell as our second choice and Robert Valentine as our third.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Should I ask for questions from the general public?
Sure.
Any questions? You guys are here, so. Yeah,
All right,
well, in the sense of timing, we're at the 6 p.m. number, but number 5 is new business. Mr. John Swift is not here yet. He's probably coming around 6-ish, we thought, right?
Yeah, it's probably thinking 6 o'clock. We are ahead of schedule because one of your candidates for the clerk.
Yeah.
interview was through
So, you know,
about half an hour ahead.
yeah, I'll push the discussion regarding the proposal to replace the chairs to the bottom of this list. I guess I should see if there's any public forum questions in the meantime from our outstanding audience members. Joan?
Harold suggested I mention this at the public forum about the unsightly mess in the center of town, the weeds and the, there's weeds that have turned into trees growing up along that stone wall there. I mentioned something like that. I think I mentioned it to both Mike and Dave. And of course, they told me it was gonna be, they put it on the list, or it was on the list. But,
Where on the list? That's
Yeah.
the key question.
I mean, it was the center of town for crying out loud, and I mean.
Well, there's a
it's
lot
not-
going on in the center of town. You give them that, but yeah.
It's not a big job. So, it's off. It's a terrible mess,
Okay, so-
and,
So shouldn't our landscaper be doing this?
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. So does highway have that list?
the highway have what?
Well, the highway is not
Who's that?
responsible for doing the landscaping around. the
They're not.
building.
No, that's,
Yeah.
this is the.
But that's not the highway guy.
The highway is responsible for cleaning up along the side of the road.
Oh, which stone wall are you talking about?
I'm talking about the stone wall right at the base of Union School there, right
Oh,
before
oh, oh,
where it
that's
drops
definitely
off
us.
onto 113.
that's a school.
Huh?
Wouldn't that be the school?
Yeah.
Oh, the right of way. Oh, along the edge there. Okay.
So it's just a street
Right.
sweeper needs to come through basically, right, and clean it up.
No, I
And
think
Pull the
clean
we
up
weeds
pull
out.
the weeds out, and make it look good.
Well, they don't even do that, and that's part of the problem, is that they get a weed whip, and they just basically cut them back. They
Yeah.
pitch
Right.
them back, and then they come up twice as big. That's why there's trees there.
Yeah, because the
So,
roots get stronger, yeah.
Anyway,
We will,
Look into it.
yeah.
We'll get back to you, Joan. We'll put it on the list.
Let me know if you're headed down there to pull them out of there. I'll come with you.
You know, I don't have a lot going on this weekend. Maybe I'll
I'll
pull some weeds. Yeah,
Case of beer, some pizza, pull
perfect.
some weeds.
Anybody that shows up,
Case of beer, some pizza, let's go
Yeah.
pull some weeds.
my exempt from
I
public
thought
banking. Police
I
aren't
thought
here.
of,
No, okay.
I thought of getting Harold's chainsaw and,
Chainsaw.
cutting, well, there's a tree there. You'll have to cut with a chainsaw.
I've recently seen a firefighter use a chainsaw on a similar shrub.
I
In the past.
thought
Allegedly.
I thought of getting the chainsaw and cutting that down and calling the police and telling them that there's a
Tree in
tree
the road.
in the middle of 113 and to please call the highway department.
Oh, man. So that if actually falls over by itself, you are now implicated because you just told the world.
I could care less.
Okay.
I would happily take, the blame.
She's gonna get a record. Yeah, he said, yeah, whatever. All right, well, yeah,
We'll try to find a way to address that because it should look better than it does, but
Yeah.
thank you for bringing it to our attention. Yeah. Or I can get beer and pizza, we can hang out and do it. A red
Yeah.
cup.
put in his monster
That's
can.
right. Maybe we could.
All right, yeah, yeah, no, you're right, that should be addressed. I don't think those mower things would go along there anyway.
No, there's a lip there of,
Yeah.
a narrow.
Sidewalk,
Not a
isn't it?
sidewalk right there, but basically, that's a very narrow
have.
strip
Yeah,
there. And that's where at the base of that stone wall,
Mhm.
it's, yeah,
and, where that little strip of cement meet, that's where the weeds are coming up. And as I say, I've seen them weed whip it before. But that,
Doesn't help.
that doesn't do much good, and I mean, even if they weed whipped it, I'd be happy if they got that mess out of there, but weed whipping it is simply, just.
Root
say it-
reinforcement,
It pinches it back and the plant develops a bigger root and, grows a bigger plant.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
I wonder if that crack, once the weeds have been removed, if a tree like that, you're not gonna be able to pull the root out probably with really impacting that. It may be worth it to cut it back, inject a little herbicide and knock it out. And once that lip is clean,
Well,
fill the crack with something.
Something, hey,
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people that know how to do these things and,
There are.
what is it, didn't they used to drive some kind of, copper nails or something like that into tree trunks to make them,
I don't know if that works so well anymore, but
huh?
I'm not if that works. It's not a common practice anymore.
Anyway, whatever. I'm sure there's a way to do it. You might not be able to, you can't, I know it was something that big. I don't know if Roundup would probably work
Yeah,
on the rest of it, but at the same point, you don't want a bunch of dead foliage on there.
Yeah.
So.
no, yeah. All right, thanks.
Yeah, that's a good public forum topic.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so back to new business. I'm gonna move the agenda around, but I'll put the discussion regarding proposal to replace the chairs in the Grand Hall to the bottom of the list. We're gonna take review and acceptance of the management letter from the auditors and discuss that at the next meeting when Dave has returned. So this will lead us to what's next on there is.
Before we leave that,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair, when I went through my package, I don't have the management letter.
He emailed it along.
So I didn't see it in an email because I'm between two email systems. Is this I'm gonna have an issue with this management letter, all right? Because if this is the same accountant that we've had, and this letter comes out and it's just this boilerplate nonsense, and they made a mistake like they did last year that the town administrator found regarding excluded and non-excluded debt. Remember that discussion? I want, they're just not gonna write some letter saying everything's fine, here you go. I'm gonna get cranky about it.
Seems like it'd be a good thing for David to be here.
Yeah, so we will, but if the letter's there, I didn't see it. I'm sorry, I'm in like 3 different email files during the daytime sometimes, so I didn't see it. That's okay, I'll get it.
Okay. That's all.
So we'll make sure Ron has a copy of that email. Maybe just resend it out to all of us so that it's at the top of everyone's
It'll just
chain.
be on your next agenda.
Yeah. Perfect. This will lead us to contingency planning for any potential failure of the special town election ballot question.
Oh, that's a light question.
So I like the way it's worded, of any potential failure. I only know of one. It's
It
it.
could tie.
It's crash and burn and take off, or that's it.
So
There's no other way out.
if it ties,
We
what does that
lose.
mean? We lose, right?
Yeah,
A tie
it's
leads.
not
Default
tied
to-
until it's
to
a
loss.
Yeah. It's certainly a hot topic. I know I've seen some electronic forums that the school committee has been pushing out there. There's also a question from interim town administrator Dave about, he can write up sort of what the impact is, is it $150, using a ballpark number for every average home value in the town. His question, I don't know if it was to all of us or just me, was, should I be pushing this information out? Should it be the school committee? Should it be I know Carol talked about like a group that is a slightly funded group on their own, a chip. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
like
what a PAC.
That's
I
a
can't remember what the right word was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether that group should be the one pushing out, vote yes or vote no signs, whichever angle you prefer.
We have to be very careful
Yes.
about whether we come across as supporting it or not supporting it. That is not our role at
Yes.
all. We voted to have it vote again, and we know what the number is, and that's the date and the times
Yeah.
and the location. That's all the information that I feel comfortable giving.
I know everyone in town has gotten a purple postcard, which I think Jake
Yes.
was a key help with. I mean, you can't say they didn't get it, because now everyone in town's gotten one again, because just like the orange one they got for May town meeting.
It had the date that it was happening, what the question would be. It didn't have any other further details on it as like how much the house would be. However, there are several different forms of information to contact anybody at the town hall to ask that question if necessary.
Mhm.
So, which Jake, you can,
And my number's the one on the postcard, because we knew when the town clerk was gonna be on July 1.
Yeah, hot topic.
right. And you can answer
Some of them.
most, I'm sure, of the questions. So,
And so that's that aspect of it.
right,
But my issue that I had with it that I brought up is what happens if this fails?
Mhm.
Okay. And we've walked down this path before,
Mhm.
and I want to spend some time, but I want David here, that we can dig into this and understand what ramifications there are of, in the event of a failure. What's the failure scenario like? And I want to understand it.
well, there are a
The
couple.
last
different
time we did this, we had a different town council. And there was a different understanding of how that was always going to work with regards to this, super town meeting concept and where all that goes. We have to have a failure scenario worked out and understood. And that's why it's okay to understand that, these are the issues, it's gonna cost whatever it's gonna cost per home.
Mhm.
And it needs to get whatever, we can't advocate for a PAC or not a PAC,
Yeah,
and that's that. This is what we got. And however that chooses to go forward, that's gonna be that decision that others are gonna make other than us. But I do want to understand to safeguard the town, because right now our budget is $120,000 out of balance.
Mhm.
Can't do that. State's DOR, DLS is gonna say, you can't do that. That Dunstable's budget can't go into place on July 1 because it's $120,000 out of balance. And that question was, what happens with that? Are we in a 112 budget scenario? Because our budget's 120K out of balance. We told them we were gonna give them money, we can't give them. And that was the genesis of my questions with David, that you gotta get Mark in the loop, we could just, somebody's gotta figure this out. We've never been in this scenario before.
Wait, I'm gonna ask a stupid
Like this,
question,
yeah.
Ron. We passed a budget that was balanced, that gave them a number.
Yep.
They are asking more through the capital plan.
It was a debt exclusion.
That
Yeah.
doesn't make our budget
It
out
was
of
a debt
balance.
exclusion.
That
yeah,
failed.
it's not out
Yeah.
of balance, just those things aren't funded.
Yeah,
Those things aren't
mine
funded.
was contingent on a vote at the poll.
Right,
Okay, and that's right, it's
Right.
contingent, and now it failed. What happens to the budget?
Well, it was
It
a
would
debt
s-
exclusion, so
they just wouldn't get it.
I
Yeah.
think it is correct. I think we have a balanced budget.
Yeah, but Groton Dunstable turned around and hit us with an assessment letter that that dollar
You're
amount is.
never gonna get Black Council enough money. I'll tell you that. Never gonna do it.
I think we gotta get, I don't know.
There's nothing, they can change their capital assessment amount by removing things from their list.
Yes, but that's not their first choice.
I know it's not their first choice. And
Their
I,
first choice is to try to squeeze it out of us. And, I mentioned it at the public forum and chairman, I think he's chairman now, right? Apparently, Brian, he said that barking up the wrong tree, that I should be talking to the selectmen, because you guys should be, going for an override so that you can give them more money, basically, is what he said.
well, it's nice for them to tell us
Yeah.
how to be running things. but We appreciate the advice.
I didn't see this kind of uproar, a few years ago when Dunstable passed an override for the schools and Groton turned it down. I didn't see,
That's right.
I didn't
Yeah,
see,
it's-
the school committee rushing out to, well, we gotta have a super town meeting.
Yeah,
The implication has become that with our failure, with the residents selecting no on passing that $188,000 debt exclusion, capital debt exclusion, that the repercussions on the MSBA funding is millions of dollars.
That's right.
It just, which,
They crank up, capital, capital expense that we have to pay and say, oh, if you don't pay it, it's gonna screw everything up. Well, cut your number back down and, that's ridiculous.
When they started the football program over there, it's gonna be, it's not gonna be
Pay for itself.
any part of the school budget at all. How much of that override is for?
the goalposts were $10,000
Goalposts,
each.
press box, and
They could've gotten it for free.
sound system, and whatever else, and all associated with football.
Right, so it's a little fear mongering, if you will, but to Ron's earlier point, there's a few different things we can do in the event of a failure. It either passes as a yes, that you go to a stabilization, you rob stabilization
That
of the
is
town of Dunstable.
Really
Can't do
bad,
that.
bad idea. Yeah.
You can, but it's frowned upon.
That puts our whole municipal aspect of our budget in jeopardy. going
Right.
forward.
But in the event we get to special town meeting and they say you gotta come up with $188,000, you're still in the same boat.
I don't believe that's true.
Well, yeah, we'd have to cut
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
$188,000 worth of stuff.
120,
I-
because we have
yeah,
64
120,
already in the
yeah.
budget.
There's a, right, well, it's 120.
We can't cut your salary.
What's that?
We can't cut your salary.
No, we already did that.
We gave it back.
See, I don't believe that's true. I don't believe that's true.
What, say that again, what don't you?
The issue is that there's a super town meetings held and that vote not in our favor. And the district comes back and reassesses us that $120,000. I don't believe we have. I believe this legal cost to say we don't have to pay that kind of money. But I'm,
Unless they come back to a joint town meeting. Once that debt exclusion fails, you try to get it. So unless they come back to a joint town meeting, they can't force you to pay.
Right, and that's what they're threatening. I mean, that's one of the options for them to do a
You
super.
just do that
Yeah.
in my town, it's to a joint town meeting.
Yeah.
They come in and say, well, we're gonna be both times for town meeting, to force you.
Right,
So,
And did they?
then somebody lose some.
Doesn't solve the problem. But I mean, I think they're based on the regional school district agreement. I think they could say you're being assessed $120,000 in fees, because at super town meeting, we did approve the goalposts and the batting cages.
So you've been
Roof.
assessed $188,000.
We already set aside $64K.
Right,
so,
I know, but I'm still saying that
Yeah.
the bill is still
it's
Right.
188,000.
right,
Yeah,
for the whole
absolutely.
capital.
And, we said, well, we can afford this much. But,
So I agree. I'd
do you
like
think
that.
they would, do you think when push comes to shove, that they would do that?
They might,
They might,
we don't know.
they might not.
Yeah,
There's E&D money. That's a possibility too. It's something they don't want to do.
We-
That would be another possible
so
thing-
I've
option,
learned that
right?
the E&D money that is the DEFCON 5 option, because if you take enough money to cover up Dunstable's shortfall, you've got to do the same for Groton. It's an
You mean
equation.
DEFCON 1?
No.
Or one, whatever the number, like
Yeah, it's 1.
red alert, October, whatever.
It's DEFCON 1.
Yeah,
Code
DEFCON
red,
1, code red, yeah. It's like poor analogies.
That's true. It does go back and affect the equation.
Yeah,
It absolutely does.
and that's why
I understand their argument. I hear it. I understand it. But we're not gonna take 120 or 188 out of stabilization. That's only got 350 in it.
Right, but
That's it. What are we gonna do? Mortgage Town Hall next?
so the question would become, which would you rather do? Would you, if we have to make cuts for 120K or 188 to the town services, or do you take it from stabilization?
I don't think, I don't.
I mean,
you
that's
know
what
We
what,
have
we're
any
playing.
services to cut.
But that's what we're playing out
We
here in this
can't-
scenario, right? Like,
I know,
that's-
but we can't strip the municipal side of the town to support the 180, because next year it's just gonna be a bigger number, and it'll be the same problem, and it'll be the same resolve. And we can't, it's just not the way it works.
Who are we gonna cut?
We're not, I'm saying that.
Yeah,
that
I
there are
know,
some
it's my
options
point, yeah.
available to us that I wanted to bring Marek in and discuss with them, because I think there are. But I'm not a lawyer. And we have got to we've got to move this up on the priority list, because we're gonna be able to have a plan in place in the event this thing fails.
the,
And we're not, we're having a discussion about it, which is healthy, and I understand that, but legally, I don't know what options we have available to us here.
Well,
I think there are some. I do believe the budget's out of balance, but I could be wrong.
you know, the town meeting was several weeks ago, and this issue was, did just spring up, last night. Why didn't we talk to the town council and ask them, are we legally responsible if we voted at a town meeting? I mean, we pay this guy money, and we've got questions, legal questions, why aren't we asking?
I thought we did have a question posed to him, and I don't recall.
I don't know, but we do need to know, because the last time we did this, we had Rich Larkin, and I understood those answers back then. And I'm just revisiting some of that. We've got Myrick, we've got a town administrator. We didn't have a town administrator. We didn't have Myrick back when we went down this path the last time. But I want to understand that, and we're not prepared for it. And why that question wasn't asked, I've been asking it. I don't know.
Dave may have asked and has not.
What's the election, 3 weeks from tonight, right?
Yeah,
Well, yeah, you have to get your absentee ballots in by July 5.
And to get this political action committee to get information out, I think that. is a
The chip
little-
sales.
There was some discussion at the public forum about, using Nextdoor, using the Dunstable Facebook page. Using the forums that they had the other night, it would have been helpful. And I think that forum was posted for 7 p.m. when it actually took place at 6 p.m. So I think that was, there were people there, probably would have been more people there had it not been found.
Have the school committee members been putting that out there? I mean, was that,
I haven't seen anything.
There was certainly one event they had, but I haven't had time to participate, so,
you shouldn't be.
right? I mean, even just to watch it,
Yeah.
and hear what other people are saying, I think is useful, but. in
I mean, it
terms-
kind of falls on their shoulders, I think, our school committee representatives to. Sorry, am I wrong? Okay,
well, I mean, they can put the information out there, but they
Yeah.
can't, whatever, political action group needs to get formed outside of this.
Right, yeah, right. I wasn't talking about
And so whether or not that information regarding the debt exclusion is being sufficiently distributed, I don't really know. I've not seen anything.
But so as takeaway items, I'll follow up with Dave to see if he can, if he's asked Attorney Falk or Myrick anything in regards to this process and our liability, and what that looks like. If do we feel the need that we want to have maybe Attorney Falk call into a meeting, our next one, to ask him ourselves? So the mission do we want out of this discussion we're having here tonight?
Yeah, we want that.
We want that.
Well,
So
there's a couple
it'd
things
be
going
July 5, so that's the next one.
That's right. There's a couple things
Well,
going
we
on.
can meet sooner than that. I have no problem with
I
that.
would take it out of sequence, but I would get this I would get this fire under this issue right now, so that we understand what we're walking into here with this.
It wouldn't hurt us to have another meeting next Tuesday to discuss this. I mean, if everyone is up for that, I mean, these are important things we need to sort of get hammered out.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
Yeah, I'd rather do that one.
I don't
July 5
necessarily.
would be-
Yeah.
What time would you want to do it?
Hang on a second. Does it have to be Tuesday?
No,
Can we do it Wednesday? There's a concert on Wednesday night.
I can't do Wednesday.
All right, how about Thursday? Tuesday's a bad night, so we can do Monday, but are we within the posting guidelines?
Yeah.
We've got a
48
affordable housing
hours.
meeting at 7 o'clock on that
and
Thursday.
I have conservation.
What about Monday?
I have conservation at 6:30, but that's
6:30 on what day?
Monday. We could do it sooner.
We can do it sooner.
Like 5 PM on
Yeah,
the 27th.
4:30,
It's fine.
4:30?
4:30 on the 27th.
Yeah. But we want Brian either here or in the
Call.
discussion. And before he comes to this discussion,
We should have a.
Mr. Chairman, can you also at least reach out to David, because David's got a specific list of questions about all this that need to get answered. And
Yep.
I don't want to walk into this discussion with Brian Falk and have him go, oh, what is it that you want me here for? This is what we want you here for. Come prepared with these answers. That's it.
Have you sent your questions?
Oh, yeah.
To Dave?
Yep.
So let's ask him to share those questions, to collect the
Yeah,
questions with all of
Right,
us.
move it, right, socialize it amongst the board and be sure Brian's got a copy of it so that when he gets to the discussion, he's not sitting there going, I don't know. What you want."
And do we want to invite
And if
the school
Dave's,
committee?
you know, if they still.
It's a public
as sick
meeting,
as
if
he
they
is,
choose to come, they can.
You can call the phone yourself.
Yeah, I don't know how well I'll be feeling, but we'll cross that bridge.
Yeah.
Better. You have all that info, Jake?
We're planning a meeting for Monday, June 27th at 4:30.
And it will likely be ideally with Dave back,
Council
yeah.
and interim town administrator.
Maybe we'll see if a school person joins us. Be wise.
Where is our town administrator?
He is dealing with COVID. It's not going great. It's not going great.
Not going.
Leave it at that.
He's ill.
Next on the docket here, American Diabetes Association's request for approval, 2022 New England Tour de Cure fundraising cycle event en route through Dunstable. We have some documents in front of us. I know we had a couple questions about the necessity of a police detail and the mapping, which I think it's going to cut basically Main Street to 113 and then out off Lowell, right? That was my
I think
interpretation.
so, yeah. They do this every
They
year.
do it every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done it every year. And so my issue was, and Dave,
He did write up motions. for
there's a
that.
motion specifically.
Yeah, did you print it out?
No, I didn't. I thought I did. I didn't. Do you have a copy of it?
Let me see if I can find it.
That motion is specifically directed for this group to seek approval from MassDOT
Yeah,
regarding passing and driving bicycles through a construction zone.
I have the motion.
Did you find
Oh,
it?
do you want me to read it out? Or do you guys-
Do you have it?
Yep.
Okay.
No, Leah's
I
gonna
was
read
gonna
it.
read
You
it.
got it?
Okay. I move that the town of Dunstable grant permission to the Tour de Cure to hold their annual bike ride in the town on August 21st, 2022, with the acceptance of the following provisions. One, that the Tour de Cure receive permission from the Massachusetts Department of Transportation to use a state highway, Route 113, for this purpose. And number two, that the Tour de Cure enter into a hold harmless agreement with the town of Dunstable, which releases the town from any and all liability associated with the use of the roadways within the town of Dunstable for this event to period, to be prepared. That's my motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So town council will prepare that, and it'll be sent to the Tour de Cure folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy, Tim Wilson, he's got to get that and that's it. I don't want to get,
Yeah.
we gave them permission to use that property. It's a construction zone. We can't give them unfettered access to that land. And somebody, there wasn't an accident here 2 years ago. Young lady broke her leg, and I don't want to go through this again.
Okay,
All right. So we voted on that. I guess we should see if there's any old business before we jump into executive session.
Is the guy for the chairs not coming?
Should
he's
be.
on for
We're
6.
still a few minutes early, but he did talk to David, and David did send an email with some of the details, so we can talk about it a little bit.
Can you talk about it a little bit? Because I'd like to know what it is that we're putting in. We buying these Samsonite
So-
folding chairs from Costco and putting them in?
No,
The proposal for the theater group is, oh, here we are, John.
Hi,
You're
John.
on.
Good timing.
I'm up.
They just got it.
Hi, I'm here. Where should I go? Right up
Yeah,
here?
you can sit right there. Yeah, wherever.
I'd love to. Same, you can sit there. Hi, guys.
Howdy.
So, as you know, I have the Dunstable Theater Collaborative, and we've put on a bunch of shows, and our constituency has one thing that they all share in common. They love the shows. They can't feel their butts after intermission because of our chairs. We propose to replace all the chairs.
Okay.
We would love to, with some folding padded metal chairs. But in order to do so, we would have to dispose of the other chairs. We'll find a place to send them up into into a place where chairs go when they've fulfilled their usefulness. So we would love to make it a gift to the town to replace the chairs, but we would have to have the okay to
Chip them and.
to have a big bonfire.
well, yeah, so, yeah, I
Yeah.
understand. Those are part of the historic component of the
Mhm.
building. So I think just getting rid of them
Right.
and throwing away is
Mm.
probably not an option.
Right.
I think our historic commission should be consulted on this first
Mhm.
to see.
For sure.
You know, I don't know what the requirements are, if there are, have to be here in perpetuity. I don't know.
Right.
Um,
That's good.
But there certainly is that's a question that should be, I think, run through that group that's
Mhm.
part of this.
Sure. Awesome. I know that we have about twice as many chairs as we need in this room because of the chair snafu that happened when the building was being renovated back in the early 2000s, where they had misplaced the chairs. And so they got more chairs from another Grange, and then they found the chairs. And so now we have double chairs. And so, which is one of the reasons why we have so many stacks of chairs in the back.
Right.
Which, I mean, we think that they're not very comfortable, but the other thing is we think they're a little bit of a fire hazard as well, just having so many chairs in here where we don't need us.
Here's a historic commission member now.
Hey,
Uh-oh.
Here's the chair.
Hey.
hi.
Hi, I'm Ann Davis.
Hi, Ann.
Did I miss the presentation?
He
Uh,
ju-
Or you just
he
presented?
just started.
Just started.
Perfect.
So, my organization, the Dunstable Theater Collaborative, would love to replace the chairs in here so that they're comfortable for our audience. But we want to replace them with some padded chairs so that people can sit in them for longer than 15-30 minutes without getting real fatigue in their backsides. So we were proposing to replace the chairs on our dime, but we would need the okay to remove these other chairs, whether that be finding a new home for them or what the deal would be. But that was one of the things we were thinking about.
My guess is that these chairs are, quite old. I mean,
For
they're
sure.
probably, they might be the original to this room.
Some of them are.
Yeah, so I think, have you all considered cushions for the chairs?
We have cushions now. We have cushions now that we put out. And it's helped some.
Yeah.
But I think one of the big problems is that the room has too many chairs. There's the chairs that you see out, and then you see the stacks of chairs in the back there. It's probably an equal amount that are not set up. There's about 200 chairs for a room that seats 100. And so we've got excess of these chairs that, that's one of the issues, it's just,
Yeah.
there's
I
too
think
many.
some of these chairs are less historic,
Mm.
you know, like,
Right.
that would be an understatement, right?
Could we weed out the ones that are,
I'd love, would it be possible for the historical commission, I just found out about this.
Yeah.
I talked to one of the residents who would, you know, commented on looking at the select board agenda and was curious about it because these are the chairs that have always been in the town hall. And everybody's used to seeing them and they're not the most comfortable, I agree, but cushions do a lot to. Actually, very ergonomic.
But after about an hour and a half, our audiences have had a resounding ouch, my butt hurts.
Yeah, I understand. I get that.
Yeah, strike that from the minutes.
But maybe we could get some really, you know, superb cushions though, that are sufficient.
Yeah, we have some cushions that are okay. Perhaps we could make those cushions better. But yes, we would love to find a solution for that, and we are willing to pony up some money in case we need. But these chairs are pretty rough on our.
How many chairs were you
Like
expecting to?
100 chairs. That's about the seating capacity that is out right now.
you said they're metal folding?
Metal folding chairs with a 2-inch cushion.
Yeah.
Imagine that on the nail to.
I don't know, I'd be very sorry to see these chairs go. This building is on the National Register of Historic Places. And,
Right.
you know, although that's really on the exterior of the building, but I think that everybody in town really respects the historic nature of what's inside the building. And also people have grown up with these chairs and they're part of the fabric of the community, you know, the fabric of the town hall.
No, kids.
Well, These chairs were here when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I would not disagree, they're probably original from the building.
Yeah, and that's something really to consider. I've been to,
Sure.
I was just thinking about the chairs driving there, because I just found out about this today, and I've been to the Newport Tennis Hall of Fame, which is a similar era, and they have these same kind of chairs. You know, to sit on, and you know, after a few hours, they are, and not the most comfortable.
I think they tried to keep the meeting shorter back in the day. Get business done.
But I would think the historical commission would have some things to say if they were removed.
Sure.
Because we do have a historic importance.
That's fair. What about the excess chairs? Because that would be another way that perhaps, because what do we do with all these chairs? Right now, they're just stacked up in the back.
I mean, things like this.
Oh, no, I mean, see in the back there? Those are a whole bunch more of these same chairs. In the early 2000s, when they renovated the room, the chairs were put in someone's barn while they renovated, and then they misplaced them. So they found a whole bunch more of the same chairs and brought them in, and then they found the chairs.
I think they were from the Grange.
Yeah, and so there's a whole pile of them.
Yeah,
The people that they got the chairs from, when they couldn't find the other ones, that they don't want them back.
Because they're not comfortable?
You see, hey, look what we got.
maybe there could be some storage arrangements.
For sure.
those.
I see, I mean, I see the idea of keeping the historic chairs. I understand that is a particular, if you come in here, like, yep, meeting hall, yep,
Right.
historic meeting hall, 100%. We would love to just make them more comfortable, so maybe we'll try to find another option.
Could I throw out there that perhaps for your shows, which you have a couple of year, 3 year,
Yep.
that these get set aside and yours be put out and then they get removed?
I just don't know where they go. It's, it's.
Just for the show, would they go in a different room in the town hall? maybe?
Well, how many chairs are stacked back there? Probably about 100, right?
About 100 there and about 100 here, yeah.
So if we were able to move those out and
Mhm.
create the space,
But would we just move them down to the Grange Hall, like, and then move them back? I think,
Well, I mean, those could
Yeah.
be taken out and, I
Right.
mean, if I can offer my,
go for it.
sort through what is
Mhm.
the originals to the
Right.
building.
Mhm.
Maybe find a new home for those ones back there, because obviously we're not using them for anything.
Mhm.
And then we could try to sort out some system to have the comfortable chairs out when you're having your performances, and then,
Yeah. I
Do
mean,
they need chairs at
yeah,
at the McLean bar?
yeah.
there's that.
At the very,
Yeah,
at the
'cause
very least.
I don't necessarily want
Leave some
to
storage.
get rid of them. I just,
Right.
yeah, I just want some people as comfortable butts.
Well, we should start the bonfires in the winter again. No, I'm just kidding.
Would it be
Just
best,
kidding.
would it be best to have the historical commission, maybe yourself, sort of get together and,
Sure, and see if we can hash out something.
yeah, and then,
Don't want to keep the meeting too long. Yeah.
no, it's right. I mean, I just, it might
Sure.
be, may help you guys.
No,
streamline
for
it.
sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
I don't know much about them, so.
No, no, for sure. It was, yeah.
Gotcha. There.
Yeah. So maybe we can meet offline and see if there's a amicable solution. for
Yeah,
chairs.
yeah.
Awesome, because no, I see your point too. I just,
Yeah, and thank you for listening. to
oh, 100%. It's, there's value in, our town is that, right?
Yeah, it's
Our
very
town is
sad.
a collection of wonderful things that we have to figure out how to keep going. And one of the things that we think is important is to make this space used for all its intended purposes, including performance.
Yes,
So,
yes, and we're thrilled that you're here using the space, so.
Okay.
As a town,
Yeah, and I'll talk to my board about it and see if there's another option that we can come up with
okay,
as well.
okay,
Sure.
great, all right.
There you go, quick and easy.
I'd certainly encourage you to get this a new home, because they are just taking. up
Yeah,
space.
we're just folded. It's like old luggage.
I'll check into the land trust, the McLean Barn, that may be a good place for them to go, because there are events there a lot, and they don't have chairs.
I don't think they have any place for people to sit. when they're
No, they
out.
don't. Yeah, in fact, one of the events said, bring your own chair. We'll bring 100, how about that?
Like, make that public space and have some public chairs.
And the range chair going to a barn.
Well, it's not a pub, it is privately owned, so.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'll look into that,
Thanks all.
all right?
Erica, right, yeah, you came in, did you have a
I
question?
thought it started at 6, so I missed it, so I didn't come back.
I think you were interested in the school discussion, if I remember correctly. The
I
net-
met with a school committee member.
Okay,
My main concern was that there could be discussion about selling the Stone property instead of coming to taxpayers for additional money.
sure, yeah, that would be done in, well, we would do a real estate discussion in an executive session type of scenario. And then the timing of it isn't really proper, so you have to, timing wise, it just isn't gonna work out to do that in the current landscape we're on right now.
The timing of the sale, you mean?
Yeah, and it's not something we're considering either. Yeah, the town doesn't often sell a property in general, just a format, but there's another meeting coming up next week, Monday, the 27th at 4:30, which that may be another time to ask that question. If you want.
Monday, 4:30.
Well,
We think we're waiting on one or two different.
I don't know that that means. There's two different issues there, right? There's the issue of the debt exclusion, right? And the mechanism by which we will fail. And if what am I hearing that you want to propose that the town sell the Snell property and give the proceeds of that sale to the school district?
Correct.
I see. I'm not sure that we're in a position to do that at this point, because there's a lot of aspects to selling that property. And I mean, that would need town meeting vote at the very least, in order to get those proceeds of that sale directed that way, and I don't know. That's a pretty significant effort, I'm not sure.
I think it may even have to go to auction.
Yeah.
I personally, it's really not something that I would support. Again, personally, this isn't on our agenda, so we really shouldn't be having any major discussion on it, but
Again, it's my fault, I thought it was at 6, so I can come back on Monday. At 4:30.
Yeah, we will have a public forum moment then. And sometimes our time projections shift a bit, but yeah, Monday at 4:30. Good time to bring that forward in public forum. Otherwise, for us, we're back down to old business. We have some, and we'll go through old business and meeting minutes before we jump into executive session. And we will not return back to open moments, I guess. I'm not sure what the right phrase is for that. Open session, yeah. So we had some minutes in front of us. I looked through them. They look good for May 26, May 31, and June 7. Any questions, comments, feelings, emotions?
I move we accept. I move we accept. As provided.
all three.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, yeah, I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Are you and I, Leah?
Aye, yes.
Aye. I've actually never moved us to executive session, so this will be fun. So we're going to proceed to enter an executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, ampersand 21 clause A, clause 2, preparation for negotiations with a non-union personnel fire chief. We will not return to public session. Those,
Ron Michael, yes.
And a roll call vote.
yeah, roll call vote.
Leah Basbanes, yes.
Ron Michael, yes, and Kieran Meehan, yes.
Good night, thanks, John.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
guys.
John.